Welcome to Film at 50, a podcast that celebrates semi-centennials in the world of cinema. I'm your host, Brian Rowe, and I'm thrilled to welcome Katie Bode to the podcast today, coming back, their first return guest for this special Christmas Day episode, December 25th, 2020, talking about Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which premiered on television on December 14th, 1970, 50 years ago. How are we doing, Katie?
Hey, Brian. It is an honor, truly, to be back. I wear it with honor.
Are you in the Christmas spirit? We should tell our listeners it's not really Christmas Day that we're recording this. It is November 16th. So we're trying to get into the Christmas spirit as best we can. I wore the sweater I usually put on for Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. Katie has no red or green.
No, black. Black like my heart. And I'm going to force it though, Brian. I'm going to force it for you.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, my podcast is airing on Fridays, and this year it just so happened that Christmas Day ends up on a Friday. So we had to do a Christmas-themed episode, and what better movie to talk about than Santa Claus is Coming to Town, right?
Yes. Can I be honest? You know, I didn't like this movie as a child, and I don't like it now.
Oh, I had fun with it. I think if this had been a feature-length movie, it would have been too much. But I think at about 48 minutes, I think it's just long enough to where I could really, kind of enjoy myself. But I think if it had been another 30 minutes, another half hour, I don't know if it would hold up as well. But before we talk about the movie today, I did just want to ask you in general about Christmas movies, animated, live action. What are a couple of your favorite Christmas movies from childhood to now?
My ultimate favorite is Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, me too.
Literally watch that every year and never get sick of it.
It's so great. It still holds up. It's hilarious. I remember
watching endlessly
as a kid. I mean, Randy Quaid in that movie is gold.
Merry Christmas, shitters full. Which I still say to my dad. We say that every Christmas.
Yeah. It's so quotable, right? Like, I've heard complaints like, well, they don't go anywhere, so it's not a vacation. And I'm like, what? That's what makes it so great, is that they're just like at home with the family, and it's so relatable. And I mean, there's not a lull in that movie. It's just constantly funny from beginning to end.
Nonstop. And I mean, it has Julia Louis-Dreyfus is really funny.
Yeah, she's great in it. Yeah.
Why is the carpet wet, Todd? I don't know, Margot.
It just ends with her just punching him. That's like the end of their story.
Yeah.
It's and that's a John Hughes screenplay, right? Like, he wrote the script to that, and I bet that was a blast. I bet he had a lot of fun putting together that script, because he wrote obviously the other two vacation movies, the 83 one and the 85 one. He did not write the Vegas Vacation, which is not, I don't think, quite as good as the other ones, although it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
The Christmas Vacation, I'm really happy they went PG-13 with that, because the first ones are.
That's true. They're pretty raunchy.
So it's I mean, it's a little bit raunchy, the Christmas Vacation version, but
sure.
It's still appropriate enough for teenagers, and you can watch it with your family.
Yeah. You can watch it on TBS with all the bad words. Cut out.
Yeah, he drops an F-bomb at the end, right? When he's like ranting, when he gets like the what does he get in that scene? He thinks he's getting the Christmas bonus. He's gonna put in a swimming pool.
It's like pudding of the month club or something.
It's like a stupid of the month club, and he just goes on that rant, which is just hilarious.
That's right, and that's Brian Doyle Murray as his boss. Classic appearance, and it's just like I keep thinking of all the jokes, like where the Hawaiian Christmas, and he's like fantasizing about the pool outside, and then and it has the hot chick, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love that one. What are a couple others? Do you have any other favorites?
I love Home Alone: Lost in New York for some reason.
You like the second one?
Yeah, I mean, I like the first one too, but the second one, has a special place in my heart, and for some reason that does get me in the Christmas spirit. Like very little else will. That movie,
it totally does. Like both
really
both of them, right? Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like such great Christmas imagery all the way through. All the music and the songs are great. Home Alone 2 has
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry and Donald Trump.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention that part. I was just going to pretend. I edited it out of my mind.
It doesn't. It's very brief. You have cut it out of your mind.
Reality star and former president.
Yes, Tim Curry. Tim Curry does a better job in that film.
Rob Schneider. Let's talk about Rob Schneider instead, because he's way better. And
with his gum, with the gum. That's a great scene.
Yes, and then she finds him. Oh, and Catherine O'Hara is beautiful and amazing, and she finds him at the tree in the end, and New York at Christmas time. It's just it's really cute and really classic.
So you don't mind that the second one is of a virtual remake of the first one? That didn't bother you?
No. They upped the ante in that he's lost in a city instead of alone at home.
Yeah, and that's John Hughes again. He wrote Christmas Vacation. He wrote Home Alone 1. He wrote Home Alone 2. Yeah. I mean, I could see John Hughes at his desk writing Home Alone 2 going, okay, should I change this up at all? Nah.
Same bad guys.
Who just happened to be there, right? Who just happened to be in New York the same time as
And then he finds a empty house to set with traps. Amazing.
Exactly. Which he puts together in an hour or so. He puts together all those traps.
I do love the bird lady. That that was going to be my Halloween costume this year, but Halloween was canceled. But bird lady.
Yes, the great Brenda Fricker. That's the bird lady. Oscar-winning actress.
No kidding. Really?
Not for Home Alone 2.
And how she's the creepy bird lady in the park, and he is scared of her, but then you realize people may look scary, but
it's a sweet message
story. So and she takes him to the symphony, and they're upstairs in the attic, and it's so cool. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a fun one. Yeah, Home Alone 1 I would put a little bit above Home Alone 2, just because it's the first the first one that does the same kind of thing.
I know. As a kid, I like the second one best.
Yeah, but my memory as a kid was the second one, because I was born in 1984, and so the first one came out in 1990. I was a little bit too young, right, for Home Alone.
Exactly.
But then by 1992, for the sequel, I'd obviously seen the first one a lot, rented it. I think we might have even owned it on VHS. Remember those?
I still have a VCR.
You had to rewind it. But yeah, one of the first sequels I remember getting super excited for was Home Alone 2. It was Home Alone 2 in the fall, or was that? I think it came out in November, December. And then that summer was Batman Returns. So the first two sequels I remember really getting excited for were Batman Returns, which is also a great Christmas movie.
That's right. I was going to bring that up. That's Christmas Day. I'm Batman Returns is my favorite Christmas movie. Stuck on that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a wholesome family entertainment. It can be Batman Returns. It could be Die Hard.
Die Hard, yes. And the other Christmassy thing that I love is the Nutcracker Ballet.
Okay.
And there's
just in general.
Yeah, and so I did not watch the Disney Nutcracker movies.
Macaulay Culkin did a Nutcracker movie in 1993.
He did? I didn't know that. Was it ballet? Was he doing ballet? The music is very Christmassy, makes me think of Christmas, and then I just like watching the ballet part instead.
Yeah. After Home Alone 2, he did the Nutcracker, and then in the same year he did The Good Son, where he played a killer child. So it was a good year for Macaulay, 93.
And then my other Christmas thing that I like is A Christmas Carol. And
all of those versions. I mean, obviously some are better than others.
The George C. Scott version.
Okay, I have not seen that. So, Katie, I just recorded an episode recently about Scrooge, which came out in 1970, at the end of 1970, starring Albert Finney. as Ebenezer Scrooge. I'd never seen it before.
Not the Bill Murray one?
No. So Scrooged with a D at the end. That's the Bill Murray one from 88. 1970, there's one called Scrooge, just Scrooge, and that stars Albert Finney at age 33 playing old Ebenezer Scrooge, and it's a musical, and it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay. I had never seen it before. And so on that podcast episode, we were talking about the best Christmas Carol adaptations. And my guest recommended the George C. Scott version from 84. I have not seen that one, so I will be watching that for Christmas this year for sure, because I love George C. Scott.
That's the one I watch with my family. My dad loves it. He always gets teared up with the Jacob Marley, like, I wear these chains I forged in life, link by link and yard by yard. We're like, oh yeah, do good deeds. But actually, the best version is Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Mickey's Christmas Carol is great. It's 25 minutes long. It's 25 minutes, right? So you get the story much faster. You don't have to sit there for 2 hours. you get it very quick.
And Scrooge McDuck as Ebenezer is perfect. Obviously, Mickey is
Bob Cratchit, right?
Bob Cratchit, Goofy, Jacob Marley. All it goes.
I'm glad I said that right on the Scrooge podcast. I called him Bob Marley. And my guest was horrified. He was like,
twisted, Brian.
Bob Cratchit, Jacob Marley. Got it. Okay.
I would like to see a Bob Marley version of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah. I also like a couple of the older versions, right? I think we at Addison watched the 1938 version. Remember the one where it's like, where they're looking at like the fireplace and let's all come around the fireplace, kids, and talk about Christmas, which we spoofed for one of my movies back in the day.
Yes, I remember just that part because later.
It might have been. I don't remember if that was in the movie or if it was the trailer for the movie. It might have been the 1938 trailer. It's like,
you should go ahead and cut that in to this podcast. That opening we did.
Yeah. And then there's the 1951 adaptation, Alistair Sims, I think his name is, which is considered by many the best of all of them, and it is a great adaptation, the 1951 version. There's something about A Christmas Carol in black and white that I really love,
Yeah.
But I like, I really love Scrooge. Muppet Christmas Carol's really fun. Right.
Great. So good.
With Michael Caine, perfect casting for Scrooge.
Michael Caine.
I'm not a huge fan of the Jim Carrey version because it goes a little bit too CG. The animation is.
I forgot that it existed.
There's a part where he's hanging off the sleigh and it's trying to be like an action thriller, and it's like, no.
I was just looking at screenshots from that movie and I was horrified. By how it looks.
It's better than the Polar Express, which has somehow become like a Christmas classic favorite among some people. I don't really understand.
People who are not bothered by the uncanny valley of digitally.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Polar Express in the theater and just being horrified from minute 1 to the end. I was like, oh my god, this is coming and going. And then it turned out to be a hit, and it's like they still play it every year on all the stations. I'm like, why?
I've never heard anyone say, I love Polar Express. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I was trying to think, what is the best Christmas movie of like the last 20 years? I really love Elf with Will Ferrell. Is there one in the last 15 years that's like a really great Christmas?
Nightmare Before Christmas come out?
That was 93. Yeah.
Okay.
It's such a hard question to answer. Is that a Halloween movie or is that a Christmas movie?
It's a both.
It's a both. It's
both
perfect.
And
you can watch it every day from like September 15th to January 1st. It's always in.
Exactly.
That's why it's when Disneyland is open, right? They can make Haunted Mansion the Nightmare Before Christmas for like 3 months because it works for both.
works from October through January. So.
All right, so let's get to our movie today. Which is called Santa Claus is Coming to Town. This is Bass and Rankin. These producing partners made a lot of these specials. Not all of them were Christmas themed, but it started in 1964 with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, stop motion animation, and went all the way into the 70s and even the early 80s. They did like more than 20. They did a lot of them. I was only aware of a few that we had watched back in the day in 07, 08. There was like a DVD box set of like 8 or 9 of them, and they were all Christmas themed. So I remember, me and you, the 4 of us are, we're roommates just out of college, and we're celebrating Christmas with Bass and Rankin. Christmas shorts.
Where would our childhood have been if these had not been made? It'd be a big empty hole.
Yeah.
What would they have put on PBS and like what I was watching when I was 5 years old in 1990?
The only one I remember watching as a kid is Rudolph, the 64 Rudolph. That one I was very familiar with as a kid. Yeah. Some of these other ones, like I don't think I saw a Santa Claus is Coming to Town as a kid. I mean, I might have, but it didn't stick with me.
I know I saw it and I was like, when does the abominable snowman show up? Where's the heat miser? Where's Rudolph? Like, I was just like, I don't like this one because it's a bunch of adults talking.
And an adult Santa who's not really Santa yet, but he's got like the beard.
This bizarre origin story of Santa. They're like, we'll just make this up.
All right.
So
speaking of origin stories, here's the very brief synopsis for those of you who have not seen this film, which as I say is only 48 minutes, so it's not a long watch, and it's on YouTube, free to watch on YouTube. It's been there for 5 years on YouTube to watch too. So it opens with the mailman, voiced by Fred Astaire, right? The famous classic film star, musical star, Fred Astaire.
Special Delivery Agent Kluger. Like just to get this going.
Yeah. So
Special Agent Kluger, Fred Astaire.
He's our narrator. He tells the origin story of how Kris Kringle came to be Santa Claus. So Santa, we start with, he's a very small baby left on first the doorstep, or he's brought to this mayor, right, of this really drab, awful little town.
Well, it's really the like king,
the
Burgermeister
king.
Meisterburger.
Yeah.
Herr Meisterburger.
Yeah. He's in some ways more the villain of this movie than the evil warlock.
Oh, absolutely. He represents fascism.
Yeah.
Like, there's a very strong resisting fascism theme that goes throughout this whole movie.
Yeah, that you don't recognize as a kid.
Evil guy is a German dictator who wants to ban all toys.
Right?
And when left with a baby on his doorstep, he says, "Take him to the orphan asylum."
Yeah.
Orphanage for crazy children.
That's right. So the animals, right? The animals pick up the baby, bring him to the Kringle family, who used to be toy makers, right? They're not currently when we
they're making toys and then just throwing them in the trash because they don't have anywhere to take them.
Yeah, it's a hard year in this movie. So when Kris grows up, and when he's an adult, he's now voiced by Mickey Rooney.
The
great Mickey Rooney, who I think is a little, even in 70, was much older than the character. I mean, what's he supposed to be, like 18, 21, something like that?
Yeah, and
he's voiced by Mickey Rooney, who must have been at least 50 at the time, maybe 60.
Yeah.
So let's see. So Kris Kringle grows up. He wants to deliver toys to the children of Sombertown. That's what it's called, right? Sombertown,
yes. With the Herr Burgermeister Meisterburger said, "All toys are illegal. I would put you in jail if you have toys at your house."
Yeah. It's this dark and sad place. Everybody wears black. The mayor hates the idea of presents and Christmas. To make matters worse, there's this evil warlord named Winter who lives between the Kringles' house and Sombertown, who is kind of like made up to be the second major villain of this movie, but isn't the villain for long.
Yeah, he's just like another obstacle.
Yeah.
I'm like an angry warlock and I'm gonna start some problems, I guess, but maybe later. Because they allude to him and he doesn't come back until later, but Kris Kringle takes care of him very quickly.
Yeah, until his heart is melted, which melts him all over, right?
And I'm like, what was the point of this warlock? But it really was that he gave him some magic. It explains some magic that Santa had.
There's also a random penguin that comes along for the ride, which which it's such a non-character in this movie. You almost forget he's there, right?
But it's like his special sidekick.
Yeah, but he's not really given personality. He's just kind of there.
No. He does kiss him a few times, though.
Yeah, there's some kissing in this movie. We'll get to.
It's a lot of.
So he ultimately does deliver the toys, and he gains a future. We get the future Mrs. Claus, right? There's a woman in the town who a school teacher he befriends, and she sings a wonderful song and gets everyone into the spirit of Christmas. That's the best, probably outside of obviously the main one, the classic one, is the most like probably famous and best song in the movie is her song. I didn't look up what the title was.
It gets psychedelic, and the animation gets all like psychedelic, and she lets her hair down, and she's like, "I'm resisting fascism, and I'm like letting my hair down and letting my ideas run free, and I cannot live in this, oppressive society any longer, and I will go throw myself at Kris Kringle's feet."
That's right.
Be his bride.
And be Mrs. Claus.
I'm like, okay then.
So they leave that town and they pitch their tent at the North Pole because he's kind of like an outcast, right? This idea that Santa is kind of like this outcast. He has to go live in the North Pole. And, he can only go out at night to deliver the toys because he's still not 100% accepted by everybody. But then that changes. And then they finally say, okay, you can deliver the toy.
Yeah. I wrote some stuff down that's like Santa has no time to play. Santa works all the time.
Yeah.
Santa, he's a rebel, and he has to do things this way in order to, I don't know, not get arrested. At first it's to not get arrested.
That's right.
And then it becomes a fun tradition.
Mm-hmm. So let's do it every year.
Yeah. He's like, I have so much to do. I can only come on one night a year.
Yeah. And let's do, what night should we choose, everybody? December 25th or 24th.
Or the most holiest night of the year, apparently.
Yeah. So by the end of this film, we finally have learned the true story of how Santa Claus came to be.
And it's canon.
It's canon. This is it. There's no other version. Okay. Yeah. So yes.
Fight and rebel against an oppressive system.
That's right. And now Christmas is just all well and good, right? There's nothing bad about Christmas.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and lovely, no commercialism. It's all great.
Oh yeah. You told me to keep it.
We are trying to be
pro-Christmas here.
This is airing in the future, Katie, on Christmas Day. We are all enjoying our Christmas Day, so let's not put anyone in a bad mood.
I know. We'll talk about the exploitation and commercialism of Christmas. Okay.
Okay, so I have some trivia about this movie. I don't know if you looked up any facts about it. The film was based on the hit song, which was introduced on the radio by Eddie Cantor in 1934. I did not know that the song was that old.
No, neither did I. Yep. Wait, which song? The
Santa Claus is coming to town. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a different version, but that song we know was introduced in 34.
Sing that song in the movie? I don't remember.
They don't sing it like that.
No,
I think they sing it differently.
That song is not in the movie.
Is this song not in the movie?
I don't think it is.
I should have been listening. I just know the song so well. I think I just assumed it popped up in the opening or ending, but it didn't.
No, lots of weird ass songs about the Fred Astaire song in the beginning is just like.
Yeah, that was different. Yeah.
And he's like, children have so many questions about Santa. I'm going to answer them all with this made up BS. Let me sing it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't he sing the whole movie, right? He's like, he eventually just talks to us. But doesn't he disappear for a while? Like we don't see him for a while.
No, he's just in the beginning and then again.
Yeah. And
I've been telling you this story. I better get back to my job.
Fred Astaire only had a day to come in, right? and do his recordings.
It's funny because I thought it was Dick Van Dyke, but I was like,
Dick Van Dyke. Yeah. I feel like Dick Van Dyke should have done some of these Christmas specials, like animation specials. Like I feel like he would have been good for those. I don't know if he did any of these like Christmas hour-long TV specials. He should have done them. He was still like an important film actor in 1970. He was still working in films, live action. So he's like, I'm not doing the animation. So the special was created using Japanese stop motion animation called Animagic, in which all of the characters are made of wood and plastic. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the animation is the best part of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes it watchable today.
Yeah, no.
You can enjoy the stop motion animation, which you just go like, this took so long to do.
Like, you know, he just like waddles across a room and you're like, oh my God, that was a week.
That was a week of work.
every 10 seconds, you're like, you know, I actually struggle with that a little bit when I watch stop motion animation, because it's hard to just separate myself from all the work that went into it, right? Every second of film. It's like, okay, just watch it.
Absolutely. And that is, I mean, that's how, I think that's the only reason these have held up as they have, you know, because this like handcrafted animation is classic and beautiful.
And it's beautiful in this movie. It's like, I looked at some clips from some of the other ones, and you see from like 1964 Rudolph to this movie, and then to a couple they made like in the late 70s. Like it just gets better and better, the stop motion, right?
Yeah.
Rudolph is a little bit rough, the earliest one, right? But they're still kind of learning the technique. And
this one was pretty early.
Yeah,
the Santa Claus one.
Yeah.
But then like the Heat Miser and like Abominable Snowman ones are really, they're great.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
And I kind of like those better because they're more characters instead of humans, and because the human likenesses are usually off-putting.
Yeah.
As they are in this movie, without a doubt.
All right, so a few more things. There was a novelization of this film released by Running Press Book Publishers in 2008. Because the movie's so long, we need a novelization of it, right?
Hey, so what? They
someone took the story of the movie and wrote a short book, you know, capturing every pivotal moment, every character.
I gotta read this.
So recently published, 2008. So this was around the time we were watching all these. We should have known at the time. We could have read it to each other. You know, Christmas week.
I could have done it. Yeah, I could have performed it in a beautiful.
Now get this. This blew my mind. I didn't look it up on YouTube. I need to, but there is a video game based on this movie, released in 2011 by the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii. Did Santa Claus is Coming to Town as a video game?
But does it look like the stop motion
animation? I would assume so. There is, I think, a Rudolph one too. So I think they picked a couple of the most famous and they did like video game versions. Most video games you can find footage of on YouTube. You can just watch some of it. So it's probably on there. I didn't take a look, but I'm assuming it has the same kind of look as the stop motion, you know, 1970.
Oh my God, movie. I just pulled it up. It totally does.
And you
but
can
it's a digital. Yeah, but it's like a digital version. The characterization of the characters look the same. They look like the puppets. So here's Burgermeister, Meisterburger, and he's like, I hate toys. But it's like a you know, a digital Wii version of that. That's really interesting. Oh my goodness. Why was this made? Why?
So they sat down and they said, okay, I think we need like a couple Christmas video game titles for 2011. What should we do? Oh, we should do the old, like somebody, that intern in the back, right, was like, oh, what about the Bass and Rankin, you know, Christmas specials from the 60s and 70s? And there was probably one other person who was like, oh, yeah, I remember those. Let's do that.
Like, what's in the public domain that I don't have to pay licensing for? Ding, ding, ding. Because if I made a video game of Home Alone 2, which more people would enjoy, then
which there is. There is a video game for Home Alone 2. Super Nintendo.
Okay. Great. I don't know anything about video games, guys. I'm sorry. But I bet that game is way more popular.
So I'm trying to picture the little kid in 2011, like, you know, yanking on his mom's arm. Oh, Mom, can I get the Santa Claus is Coming to Town for Wii?
Kind of like what your grandma would get you.
That's grandma's like,
let's see here. What should we get the grandchild? This is apparently my impression of a grandmother.
Yeah.
So I've just pissed off some listeners, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
including
look.
your own grandmother.
There's the Santa Claus is coming to town for Nintendo DS. Should I get the DS, honey, or the one for the Wii? You know,
Get both.
get both, honey. I don't know. What does the grandfather sound like? Get both, honey.
You're like, what is a Wii anyway?
What is a Wii? Is that the Atari, honey? Is that what they're calling the Atari now?
Back in my day, I Wii by myself, and nobody liked it.
All right. So we've just alienated some listeners. I really do appreciate grandmothers and grandfathers.
Yes, we are not. I am not ageist.
So there is a video game of this movie. Couple more things. Fred Astaire returned as the mailman. What's his name again, Katie?
Special Delivery Agent Kruger. Why don't we have any special delivery agents delivering my, Whole Foods order?
So he returned to voice the same character in the 1977 Rankin Bass holiday special. The Easter Bunny is coming to town. That is apparently a thing. I did not know that there was an Easter Bunny is coming to town.
Okay, what sort of crap did they make up about that? Because Easter, I don't know. Like, were they bunnies at the base of the foot of the cross? Like, I don't know. I have not seen that one, Brian.
So somebody reached out to Fred Astaire 7 years later, and they said, "Hey, Fred, you want to come back and play that character again for the Easter Bunny version?" And he said, "Why, yes. How much are you paying me?"
Yes, I have a lot of debt. Predators after me. Let's do it.
And then Mickey Rooney later reprised his role as Santa Claus in two of their specials: The Year Without a Santa Claus from 1974.
That's a Heat Miser one.
Yep. And Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July from 1979.
Good for Mickey. Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney collecting the cash for playing Santa.
I mean, does he still get paid?
Did he ever play? I wonder if he ever played Santa in live action. I feel like he would have made a good one, maybe.
Yeah, he would have.
I know he was in, I think, was it Puppet Master 5? No, but not Puppet Master. It was the Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5 that he appeared in. I haven't seen that either. I have seen a couple of the sequels though. They're really fun.
Silent Night, Deadly Night. Silent
Night, Deadly Night. The Killer Santa. If you ever get a chance to watch the second one, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Like I put it on earlier this year. It was on Shudder, this kind of Netflix for horror movies. I don't know why I wanted to watch it in the summer, but we had some people over and they were like, put on something stupid, or I was like, I'm gonna put this on, and like their conversation drifted into something else as I sat there laughing my ass off at this movie. It is great.
And Santa's the killer?
Yeah, he's kind of like a killer, but oh my gosh, Katie, the next time we see each other, the next time I come to visit you,
yes,
when this pandemic is over, we are watching Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I promise you, it's an amazing time.
Some of my happiest moments were spent watching movies and ripping on them.
Yeah,
favorite things to do.
So much fun. So we'll do that at some point. All right, so that's all my trivia. Do you have anything to add? Any other things you researched about it? I mean, obviously, this didn't go to theaters like most of the movies I'm talking about on the podcast. This aired on television on December 14th, 1970. I don't know like how well it did, but it's still, they still play it, I think, to this day, right? Like on ABC Family, now Freeform, I think it plays on there. And people are still watching this. It's still, outside of a couple questionable scenes, and it still works well for kids, and which we'll get to. But yeah, so overall, what was your take on this movie? You said you saw it as a kid. It's not one of your favorite Christmas specials. What does not work for you about this one?
I didn't like it as a kid. I didn't really like it now. Like I said, I was looking for the Abominable Snowman or the Heat Miser or some sort of character that would have, that is more fun. Mm-hmm. And this was just very dark and gloomy, and I was like, I don't like this origin story to begin with.
Yeah, it's not really like a real uplifting origin story. You're not like, it's not an exciting kind of fun comedic, like it's very dark. It's not really, the greatest one to watch with the kids.
It has Nazis and guns and like in orphan asylums and
really sad children who I just want a present of some kind.
Really sad children and depression and
You have the mayor burning toys at one point, right?
Burning toys. It's not unlike like burning books or burning any other things. I mean, it's very clearly like a dictatorship that Santa is resisting against. And I forget what happens with the Burgermeister. I think they're like, he just died. And,
what does happen to him? Is he just dead?
Like, they're like, the narrator is like, well, then Herr Burgermeister eventually died. And and everyone was like, you know what? Toys are pretty cool. He's not around anymore, so let's keep the toys going. And like, that's why you put toys in your stockings, because you have to hide your toys from the Nazis who are coming to arrest you and your family if you have toys. Which is how, and they did have like the World War I, like German hats with the things. I mean, it was not subtle.
Oh yeah, no, it's not subtle. Like this is not where you're not like, I can kind of read something into this. It's like, no, they're not messing around here.
No. No. Did you know that Santa is Antifa? Like, that's all you have to know. It's like, which, hey, it's relevant in today's world. How great is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the two things I loved about this movie, I loved a couple of the songs were great. I love the song that she sings towards the end of the movie. And just the animation is so lovely. I was never like, turn this off. I'm just like, and it brings just that style of animation brings me back to being a kid. There's something very nostalgic about it. Probably more to do with the Rudolph special from 1964.
Yeah.
But it just immediately transports me. Like, I did not look at my phone for 50 minutes. Like, I really just watched it and just kind of enjoyed the animation, even while recognizing it's not one of the stronger ones. It's not a great movie, but it's still, it's as I said before, like if this were 90 minutes, I don't think it would work. But I think at 48 minutes or whatever it is, it's fine, and as a story, but the animation I just love. I just think it's so beautiful all the way through. I love the look of the warlock. What's his name? Is like Winter, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Before he melts, like I loved that design of that character. Like when he's like mad and he's all white from head to toe, and like I love the look of that, and like the location, like the location, like they filmed it on set.
Yeah,
like, on location, right? But no, just like the backgrounds of like where he lives look really great, and so I like the design aspect of the movie more than the story.
Absolutely. I mean, the design is the best part. It's the only way I could keep watching, just enjoying the design. And I think that's why it's still relevant today and still has staying power, because those like handmade effects are just gorgeous and they last forever. Unlike, early digital effects that look so horrible today. I mean, they looked great at the time and then aged very poorly.
Like CGI from like the 90s and stuff looks horrible today. From the 2000s looks bad. Yeah. But you look at like the handcrafted kind of things done in the 70s and 80s. And that's, I think, why we return. That's why we return to these movies more than we do to movies like that have special effects or animation, whatever, from like the 2000s and stuff. Like they just don't hold up. You can't watch some of that stuff now. But 70s and 80s, when everything you're watching is on the screen, like they really made the puppet, or it's really there. It holds up,
And that's why Jurassic Park still looks good, because they built the puppets and they built the robots, and then they did CG on top of it. And, I mean, that makes
what blows my mind about Jurassic Park is there are digital shots in that movie. There are like digital shots circa 1993 that still in 2020 look great. And I don't know how does that work? How does the CGI of Jurassic Park hold up really well, but then you watch a big movie from 2007 and it looks terrible now? I don't really understand that.
It's because they had puppets and modeling. They actually like built puppets and then did the CGI on top of it, so it still like has that tangible quality that then the CGI enhances it.
Oh yeah, and I think it helps that a lot of it's in the rain, a lot of it's dark, right? So you don't have to see all of it like in full view, like the scene with the T-Rex. But like that shot of the T-Rex in full, like stomping onto the street, that's CG. That's not a puppet, and it looks great. It looks amazing.
Look really good.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just an aspect of that kind of the handcrafted element of this movie that I really appreciate and enjoy. And I kind of like the darkness elements to it. If this movie were all just happy and no conflict at all and no darkness, I think I would have gotten bored very quickly. So I think you need that element to some extent.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we didn't talk about this at the beginning. My favorite Christmas movie ever is the animated version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 1966. That is just a classic movie. Like everything about that movie I love. That's the one I have to watch every Christmas weekend is because it's like 25 minutes, very short. Yeah. It's so great. It's got such an amazing message at the end. That animation doesn't hold up as well as, say, the stop motion in this movie. Like the animation in The Grinch 1966, it looks, I mean, it's pretty old. But the story, it's a little grainy. The story, though, and the pacing of it and the voice, the songs are amazing, and the voice acting by Boris Karloff.
So good.
The great Boris Karloff. Yeah. It's so good.
Amazing.
So that's my all-time favorite, and it, this movie is not anywhere near that, but I still really did appreciate the animation and some of that darkness elements that are also in The Grinch, like looking at the anti-hero, not the hero, right?
Did you see the new animated Grinch?
I tried to watch the newest one. It was fine, but it's hard. It's hard when you love an older version that much. So like go with a new animated version of the same story, but 3 times as long. You're like, okay.
I wish they would just like maybe update the animation on that movie and keep the voice acting, keep the story, keep everything, and then update the animation.
Just update the animation.
Beautiful, modern animation. I wonder what that. I mean, I would have watched that. I have not seen the one yet.
Part of it is I own like a very old DVD of The Grinch. I want to say it came out in like 98 or something. It's one of my oldest DVDs I have, and so maybe there is like a newer like HD version of the 66 Grinch that I haven't seen. That maybe it's remastered. Maybe it looks better. Right?
I bet that does exist.
Because I just recorded a episode about the Aristocats, which is this kind of like lesser known Disney feature, and I watched it on Disney Plus, and it had clearly been remastered because it looked amazing. Like the quality of the animation for a film made in 1970 looked incredible. So I would assume that there might be a remastered version of The Grinch that looks better today.
Right, because I mean that was hand drawn stuff. I mean, it's gonna look amazing, and when you can update it and remaster it, it'll look
so that's about all my positive things to say about Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Outside of the animation and some of the dark elements, which I enjoyed, it's not one of the better Bass and Rankin specials. It is just kind of. It's fine. Like the story, it never really grabs you. There's not a whole lot of conflict. I mean, the villain is just such a kind of a stereotype, cliche, bumbling idiot kind of a character. You're like, okay, can't really get on board with this guy very much. There are a couple moments that I took notes that really kind of threw me, and the one we have to talk about is the scene of the kids having to sit on Santa's lap and kiss him on the cheek before he gives them his presents. What do we think of that scene?
Yeah, it was like the price of a present is sitting on my lap and giving me a kiss. So Santa has a little quid pro quo action here. It's not pure giving. Not pure giving, Santa.
Yeah, that I was like, and it's you stay on it. It's not a 15-second little bit. It's not a part of a montage. Like the camera kind of zooms in on the on this happening, and you see like 3 or 4 kids kind of jump up and they sit on the lap, and then they turn to him, and then they give him a big kiss on the cheek, and then he's like, "Here you go."
Okay, now, and then he says like, "This is the price you pay for a toy. You sit on my lap and you give me a kiss, and I give you a toy." I'm glad they got rid of that by the 80s. By the time we were sitting on Santa's lap, There was no more kissing involved.
Yeah, I don't have any memory of having to kiss Santa, right?
I don't remember that, but that was odd. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I sat on Santa's lap as a kid. That was a thing. Is that still a thing? Do kids still sit on? I mean, not this year, obviously, but like before this year.
And this year, Santa's in a bubble, and they are also in a bubble, and they
and they hug through like plastic wrap. The magic of Christmas. The other thing that bothered me about the movie was they would do this weird thing where whenever Kris Kringle, before he's Santa, is surprised, his eyes turn full blue. Did you notice that? It happened like 10 times. Like he'd be talking and then he'd like be shocked by something. And the eyes, it was mostly white, and then there was like a little bit of blue, and it would go full blue. And that creeped me out. I thought that was one of the creepiest aspects to it. You didn't notice
blue
that.
Eyes are definitely like a feature of this. The fact that Santa is blue, his Aryan blue eyes, like that they really do emphasize it. I mean, I don't know why.
So that was it was just like a weird design touch. I didn't think the movie needed that, and I was I would love to be sitting on that meeting, like when they decided let's make it full blue.
Well, they're like, what do we do? How can we animate this to make it look like something's happening? Let's just make his eyes go rah. I mean, I don't
know. And I was also confused. How does Kris Kringle fly? There were a couple moments where he just starts floating in the air. Did you understand what that was about? Did you notice that? There's like a part like before he's Santa, before there's the reindeer are flying in the air, like he's just talking to Winter, like I think after he's melted, and then he just like floats into the air like he can fly. And I was like, have we established that rule, like he can fly through the air?
I can't remember if that is something like a power the Warlock gave him, or
maybe it's that. But I was like,
do like the Kringles like taught him. No, Brian. It is. The seals taught him how to fly.
The seals taught him
that specifically, that he like learned from the Kringles, but he also learned from the animals of the woods, and some animals taught him this and some animals taught him that, and the seals taught him how to fly.
Okay.
Because seals know how to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Because what? But they would like go down a mountain and like zoom up, and that's how he could get some air. I forgot about that until now, because at the time I was like, what?
Okay, so I missed that. I was like, wait, how does he fly? He doesn't have a sleigh.
Like one sentence in a song, and then they're like, that is canon, Santa canon forever.
Yeah.
And you're like, but yeah, because it's later the Warlock gives the reindeer the ability to fly, which is how they are all freed from prison, because they're all imprisoned at one point. And the Warlock has to save them by enchanting some reindeer with some magic corn that he found in his pocket.
That's right. We get Rudolph in this movie, right?
That's right. But they're like, that's a story for another time.
We've already touched on that.
Don't get excited, kiddos. And like that, don't even get me started on Rudolph and exploitation.
Oh yeah. The reindeer just pop up, and now they're getting what they feed them? Corn, right? And then they're just flying through the air. Magic corn. So yeah, I mean, that's basically the movie. I'm trying to think of any other major scene we didn't talk about. I mean, it's the origin of Santa, so we're not like, we're not spoiling the ending to say that he gets big and jolly at the end with Mrs. Claus, and she like kisses.
I know they don't talk about how Santa got fat. I was waiting for that. That wasn't in there. They're like origin of Santa's fatness. We're not.
Yeah, no, they're thin, right? They're thin when he's a young adult, right? And then he goes to the North Pole, and then the next time we see him, he's got the beard, and he's a big guy.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a weird explanation for that, but there wasn't. They just glossed over that.
Yeah. So I mean, they've just 364 days a year, they're just chilling in that house in the North Pole, and they're not exercising or anything. So
apparently they're working so hard. They're overworked. They work constantly. They don't have time for self-care. Santa doesn't have time for self-care.
They're not eating well. And
value is based on your productivity. This is what we're teaching children.
Yeah. So yeah, any other scenes that popped out to you in this movie? You know, it's not very long, so there's not a whole lot of other scenes. I'm trying to look at my notes.
Looking at my notes, I wrote this quote down. You are obviously a nonconformist and a rebel. That's Herr Burgermeister to Santa.
Okay.
So nonconformist and a
and
rebel.
after she, what's her name? Jessica, the woman.
Yeah, Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica.
Mrs. Claus, Jessica. Okay.
After she sings her song, doesn't color kind of go over the town, right? They all turn into color.
Right. Like so you start to see some of the kids are in color and like she's in color. And there is a whole cool like psychedelic sequence where the background like melts behind her. And it's a different kind of animation that they've used. And that part is the coolest part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did mention there's a few parts in this movie that goes to traditional animation when they like open the book. Like it's not stop motion when we see like the book pages. Like it'll do a little scene on the page and it'll be traditional animation, like hand drawn.
Yeah, they did mix in a few hand drawn elements.
Yeah,
they're cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of neat, right? I mean, if it had been too much of that, it might have taken you out of it. But there was like just a little bit of that I thought was nice.
In the beginning, what's his name? The Fred Astaire like throws snow up in the air. And then it's like kind of janky and it goes to the drawing and like the drawn animation and the title comes out of that snow. The snow that's falling down forms the words of the movie. And you're like, oh, that almost worked.
And the very first shot, isn't it live action newsreel footage? Like, and then it dissolves into the animation. What was that about? It's
like black and white kids are like, every year, kids get excited about Santa, but you never stop to think about Santa's origins and resisting fascism. Let's go there now, because we made this shit up.
A few writers, or maybe less than a few, got in a room and said, "Okay, we're going to tell the origin story."
And what's important? Consumables make people happy. They will melt your icy heart. So buy and consume.
That's right.
And your productivity is directly related to your value. You're a capitalist. You're anti-fascism, pro-capitalism. You know, you can kind of see. Looking back as a child, you didn't know you're getting your head filled with all of these fanciful ideas, but you are.
I assume there's a lot of Christmas Day episodes in the podcast world airing today. I don't think we're one of the more optimistic episodes. Talking about the how much we love Christmas. You know, it's funny. I did a bonus episode of the podcast recently, like the best horror films of the last 50 years, and that was just a love fest, right? We just talked about, but then it's like, but then we get to Christmas, which is obviously like the more joyful holiday, and we're being more pessimistic. What's wrong with us, Katie?
Well, it's the movie. The movie brought it out in us. I admit I was a little shocked when you asked me to appear on your Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Because I'm, kind of a hater, maybe, when it comes to movies.
Well, I was thinking back on our time at Addison. I remember we had a great time watching these many, many years ago. And I thought it'd be fun to just touch, especially
it has been really fun.
Especially this one, which we hadn't, I did not remember this one as well as a couple others, which we'll get to in our final segment. But my last question about this movie is, looking at it through a 2020 lens. I mean, obviously, we've talked about that style of animation and how that is, really separate from now. We don't really see stop motion very often. They still do it sometimes. But anything else that really makes this movie feel like it's 1970 and not another decade or year? And if this movie were made today, if they redid this movie, how would they do it? Would it be animation again? Would they do it live action? Like, what would be a 2020, 2021 version of this story, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it would be all computer animated.
Computer animation, probably, right?
They're not gonna. The only people doing stop motion are TikTok artists. I saw one on Instagram, and it was of eggs making an omelet, but it was knitted. And so not only was it stop motion, it was knitted. Everything in it was knitted. And I was like, this took so long to do. I'm freaking out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, in terms of like making a profit. I don't think that stop motion is super profitable.
Oh yeah.
So
it's not profitable. It's so much more work, right?
More work, you know.
I mean, I think they have tricks today, right, to make it move a little faster, stop motion, right?
I think that's true. I mean,
like on the computer.
There's still Wallace and Gromit, you know. There are wonderful, amazing stop motion animation studios out there doing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely insane, incredible work.
And probably wouldn't want to just redo the same thing. Would want to do something new and original. Yeah.
I would hope that this new Santa Claus is coming to town would be less like capitalist based and more like more nuanced in a inclusive way for like all the children, all little disabled children, children of all colors and races. I mean, that was not a part of this one. And so I would hope that it would be way more inclusive to all children.
Absolutely.
And like just with a universal design, you know, and that Santa and Christmas and the concept of giving is for everybody. Everybody can give, and it really does make you feel better. So it makes you feel better, and it makes other people feel better, and giving and gratitude. So I would hope that is what.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that a feature-length computer animated version of the story could happen. I feel like that could happen in the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, enough people know of it. I feel like a movie about Santa Claus people would go to, you know, with the kids.
I would love if the origin story was rewritten in a way to be more magical and festive, you know, like not that he's a foundling orphan left to die. Was saved by animals. I mean, like, that's pretty dark, and that it does come from a long line of like Hans Christian Andersen kind of fairy tales that are pretty dang dark, and I do like darkness. I mean, I kind of do enjoy that aspect, but I would hope that it could be just like really lighthearted and a lark, and it doesn't offend anybody, and maybe it's not even like Christian, like maybe it's like super secular in that like everyone can enjoy it, no matter if you're Muslim or Jewish, or, you know, like everyone can enjoy Santa. You don't even have to be Christian. It's that universal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they were to do this story again, just make it really for everybody, for younger kids, and not have like, you know, all of the dark elements of this story. Like just like make it a little bit more family friendly. I think if done well, if they came up with a good concept, I think it could be maybe work better than what's in the movie now. Yeah. But yeah, no, as I said, I liked it. It's fine. You know, it's a quick watch. It's available for free to watch on YouTube right now. And so, yeah, it might be worth a look. If you haven't looked at some of those Rankin and Bass TV specials, this is one that's available online for free from beginning to end. Some of the other ones, you only look at clips. Like, it doesn't have the full version. This one has the full version, so it could be worth a look.
Full version for free on YouTube. Can't beat that.
All right, so our final two segments now. The first one is called the Divine Double Feature, where we pick it doesn't even, I guess, have to be a feature since this wasn't a feature. The Divine Double something. What is something more contemporary, anything at all, of the last like 20 years or so that you would recommend to someone put on right after this Santa Claus Coming to Town is over?
Well, Brian, after I watched the movie, I kind of wanted a palate cleanser. And I was thinking that the perfect palate cleanser to this would be the Trey Parker and Matt Stone Team America World Police puppet extraordinaire movie. Because I was thinking about puppets and stop motion, and you know, they made this entire puppet movie that is like brilliantly made, and they said we will never do another puppet movie again. It was so hard, but you know, and that movie is just ridiculous. There's a pretty hilarious sex scene.
So are you suggesting that, let's say, your parents, you have a couple young kids, and you put on Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and then just keep going and put on the Matt Parker and
you know what?
and just see what happens, like just watch their reaction and just put it on as if it's just another G-rated family film?
In this scenario, the children have toddled off to bed after Santa Claus.
Okay.
And the adults have been drinking eggnog, smoking Christmas reefer, and they put on classic South Park creators, you know, to laugh their asses off and enjoy some more goofy puppeteering. But I had another idea, another thing that I thought would be a really good palate cleanser is something that just dropped like a few days ago. Well,
a few weeks ago, Katie.
Yeah,
it's December 25th.
Would be the Lil Nas X Holiday music video and song. It's a single. It's called Holiday. And he released a music video that goes along with it that is super futuristic sci-fi. It takes place on Christmas Eve 2022, like 2000. Yeah, 200 years in the future.
Okay.
And he's like a queer Gen Z artist, and you can see it in his. You can see how how he's influenced by like the Gen Z video game. Those Gen Zers and their video game lifestyles, and he's Santa, but he's also an elf, and then he's also some toys, and it's like very cool. And I've been listening to that song all week, and it's my new favorite holiday song. So I would recommend that maybe.
So how long is that? Like 5 minutes?
Yeah, not even. I think it's like 3 minutes.
So
it's a music video.
So your recommendation for a double feature is a 48-minute film followed by a 5-minute music video.
Yeah.
So you got things to do. This is the right double feature.
It's like, but it's like an interesting palate cleanser of like, this is what people thought Christmas was like 50 years ago. And this is what people think Christmas is right now. And I just really enjoyed it. And it would be a very interesting comparison. But you watch that. And then you watch World America, Team America, World Police.
Yeah. So that's a shorter double feature than what I recommended on a recent episode about the 3.5-hour David Lean movie, Ryan's Daughter, which I recommended the second film should be Titanic.
So, if you're a masochist.
That's about 7 hours. Right? So this, you've recommended a much shorter double feature.
I don't hate myself, Brian. And I don't hate your viewers.
Yeah, or the listeners. Some people are watching this on YouTube. This is available on YouTube, but I think most of the people are discovering it on the podcast by listening to us, who don't have to stare at us for an hour plus, right?
Yeah. I feel sorry for those viewers.
Who are not witnessing our beautiful faces right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my pick will kind of strike you as very odd, but it's as I was watching this movie, and this is 22 years old. It's a little bit outside the 20-year kind of, but it's 22 years old. I kept thinking of this movie more than once while watching Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and that's Pleasantville.
Oh.
Which has the same kind of idea of like everyone's kind of existing in this kind of drab world, and then somebody comes in from the outside and kind of makes everyone's lives a little better, was kind of the idea. It's kind of like
and drugs and color.
So if you wanted to go the live action route after this and you didn't want to just put on an obvious Christmas movie, I thought there's something kind of thematically linked from Santa Claus is Coming to Town to 1998. Gary Ross directed Pleasantville, which is one of my favorite films of the late 90s. Great movie.
Great movie. From Somber Town to Pleasantville.
From Somber Town to Pleasantville. Exactly. Yeah. So that would be my choice. Our final segment, first I thought, well, let's just pick our favorite Christmas movies, but this is a very specific kind of Christmas movie. It's like a TV special. So, and since they have like more than 20 of them, well, they're not all Christmas, but most of them are, or at least holiday related. For Beyond the Flick, I wanted to talk about today our very, very favorite Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin Jr. Christmas TV specials. I was able to whittle my list down to about 5 that I like, and then pick my 2 or 3 favorites. What did you go with? Which ones do you like the most of all of their holiday special?
I was surprised at how many I didn't know and hadn't seen. There are so many. There are so many. I was like, I don't know this one or this one or this one. I mean, my favorite has got to be the Frosty the Snowman one.
Okay, the traditionally animated one. Oh, the second one?
Yeah, it's the one where he puts on the magic hat and that's what brings him alive. And the little protagonist is a little blonde girl like me. And I was a little blonde girl watching it and living in the desert and wishing that I could be somewhere where it snows and maybe build a snowman one day. I still haven't done that.
So that's not the 69 version. It's the one where he goes, "Happy birthday."
Yes, that's the one.
It's Frosty the Snowman. It's the first one. There was a sequel made years later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Frosty the Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, because he's just being born, and so he goes, "Happy birthday." Because he just is born.
I still remember when we watched that at Addison, I turned to you, I said, "Why is he saying happy birthday?" And you had to explain that concept to me.
I forgot about
I'm like, why does he say happy birthday? And he does it like 3 times, and it's clearly the same use of animation all 3 times, because his head turns the same way and he smiles and he goes, "Happy birthday."
Happy birthday.
The same angle.
He just recorded that line once. They play it 3 times.
Yeah. Okay, so that one you could relate to a little bit more than the other ones because of the little blonde girl.
That one, and that is not stop motion.
Yeah, that's traditional animation. Not all of them were stop motion.
No.
Yeah.
And I just really like the idea of finding a magic hat that would make snow come alive someday. And I thought that maybe one day as a child I could do that if I ever got out of the desert.
Yeah. So that's on my list too. That's number 2. I also like Jack Frost. That came later in the late 70s. I've seen that one a couple times. That one's really fun. And The Year Without a Santa Claus, I wasn't able to. I kind of wanted to watch it right after this, but it wasn't available on YouTube, and I didn't know how to find it.
Yes, that's the one with the heat miser and the snow miser, and like those concepts still prevalent today. I still see drag queens making heat miser mugs and faces and doing a whole heat miser show. So like that has persisted into our cultural consciousness. That has not gone away. There are memes. So that one was on my list too. That and like which one had the abominable snowman?
It's Rudolph, right?
Is that Rudolph? Okay,
Rudolph, the first one. Right. Yeah. I wanted to rewatch that. I wanted to rewatch that again, but that wasn't available that I could find online. So I will get to it soon. It's been a while since I've seen that one. My third favorite, it's not the third best. It's the movie that I have such fond memories of together with you. And Scott and Will at Addison is watching Cricket on the Hearth.
It's that cricket on the hearth. Where's that cricket? It's on the hearth.
Which is so bad. It's probably the worst one. It's so god awful. The animation, the songs, it doesn't the animation doesn't even make logical sense usually. And
there's story, like a monkey with a gun. There's a murder in it.
Yeah.
Pop.
Yeah. The story is so ridiculous. Like she goes blind due to grief. And so her animation, her eyes just stay the same, right? Like for like 10 minutes, she's just like, and they like break into these really awful love ballad songs, right? Where it's just like, he just starts singing to her and it goes on for 5 minutes and you're like, oh my God. And it's so bad that it's funny and it's really fun. And it would be my third favorite to watch.
That's super fun to rip on.
With your
Scott
friends.
And Aaron, props to Scott back from...
I think Scott had some really good running commentary on Cricket on the Hearth, I want to say.
Cricket on the Hearth. They loved it so much they made each other gifts featuring the cricket on the hearth. I mean... Which
is based on a Charles Dickens short story. Did you know that?
I just did. I was about to bring that up because I Googled it earlier today.
It's based on a Charles Dickens story.
I got to read the story. I'm actually going to read it because it's... I want to see how it made it from that classic literature to the pile of steaming garbage. No, I'm just kidding. It's so hard to make an animated movie. So incredibly difficult.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people worked hard on it.
Every moment is a decision.
Every shot. Every shot.
24 frames per second.
Yeah.
So every frame is a decision. Yeah. And there's so many decisions, one after another, and they equal a monkey with a gun committing murder in the middle of this children's story. And you're like, ooh, what?
Gosh, I would love to know if somebody involved in the making of that movie is still with us today. I would love to talk to them. So if you're out there, reach out.
Please, call in. Reach out. We won't laugh at you. We want to know.
Yeah, they just call in right now, just randomly. I get, oh, Katie, let's we got the head animator here.
I didn't know we were live. Live on the radio. This is filling my radio show.
Just happened to tune in at the right time. But no, my favorite would be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the first one, 1964. It's the one I remember from childhood. I love the stop motion in that. It's a great story. Just a wonderful, I mean, it's probably like just the best overall of all of their stop motion animated movies. I feel like that was the first one, and then everything afterward was trying to reclaim the glory of their the first movie, and they never quite recaptured the magic.
Yeah, they never quite got there.
Yeah. All right, well, that about wraps up things here. Katie, you have any final words about our movie today, or anything? You've been on this podcast once before, and I want to thank you for returning, the very, very first return guest to Film at 50. If you want to just remind our listeners where they can find you online, or anything you want to promote.
Sure. Yes. Well, thank you for having me again. It's super fun. I love ripping on movies with you, and and offering my opinions. I love that.
Yeah.
I am an artist. You can find my work on Instagram. It's something Bode, Bode, something Bode. I did do the logo for Film at 50.
She did the logo for Film at 50. Everyone, the logo you see every time you turn on a new episode. That's Katie Bode's logo. It's beautiful. I love it.
Crescent rainbow vintage wonderfulness, just for you, Brian. And follow me on Instagram, I guess. I have a YouTube page, but I haven't posted anything yet.
Yeah, and follow her stories on Instagram. You always have really cool content there, almost daily, right? You have lots of great stuff. Politically, art-wise, graphic design, all sorts of really cool stuff. So check it out. So thanks everyone for listening to the episode today, our very special Christmas episode.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yes, it's Christmas. Doesn't feel like Christmas to us right now, but when you're listening to this, it might be after Christmas. You might be listening to this much, much later. So I don't know.
Happy winter solstice.
Happy winter solstice. Happy Easter. But yeah, you can find Film at 50 online at filmat50.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can email us with your questions or your concerns at 50yearsagoinfilm@gmail.com. Also check out the Patreon page. We're going to have at least 2 new bonus episodes every month. I've been keeping up with that since September. We've got lots of really cool exclusive content. If you want to join the Patreon page and support the podcast, that would be awesome. Until next time, remember, 50 never looked this good. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.